The tabletop takeaway.
Game mechanics on display.
Three designers share the stage.
Pick a genre and we'll play.
The tabletop takeaway.
Welcome back to the Tabletop Takeaway. I'm Trevor Muller-Hagel.
I'm Ananda Gunratna.
And I'm Charlie McCarran.
And today we're starting our official series on tabletop role-playing games, TTRPGs, with Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I'd go over all of the rules of Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't want to bore you absolutely out of your mind. So basically, we'll go over kind of the rough concept. You are a character in a fantasy world, typically, and you have a class or a race, and you have these different stats that kind of determine how you do at different activities. Most of the die rolls are using a D20, which is a 20-sided die, meaning that each one is a 5% interval. That's a very interesting kind of thing if you like getting into the probabilities of things. But ultimately, you are playing a character, and so there can be a lot of role-playing, a lot of like pretending to be someone and going through the story as if you're the character. A lot of tabletop RPGs tend to focus on the narrative portion instead of the mechanics portion, especially today, which I think is a really cool move for the genre in general. But without going into too much detail, what do you guys think of D&D? As DM'd by me.
Yeah. So for listeners, if you saw, we have 3 preceding episodes to this episode, where in that session 0 episode, we created our setting and characters, and we were actually using In This World, that game,
which is a really cool tool still.
Yep, we refer to it a lot now. Yep. But and then we did a whole playthrough of we did an adventure. Yeah, like 3 hours of D&D. So you can listen back to those episodes if you missed it.
Yep.
But I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Trevor, for coming up with this story also for us.
We did the In This World episode yesterday, and then I came up with the story this morning.
Yeah.
And then we played it today.
Fantastic turnaround time.
Great turnaround.
So, it was a fun time. It was a fun challenge. I enjoyed doing it.
One thought and question I had is, so if we hadn't done that setting in advance, like coming up with that as a group, is there... what does that look like for D&D usually?
It can actually look like a lot of things. You know, D&D is not unlike things like Warhammer and Magic the Gathering, where there is a surplus of content out there. And so, you know, even D&D, you can find modules and things where you could just copy and paste an existing adventure, and you can just run an adventure that's been made by someone else, and you don't even have to come up with anything. You just act as the characters that they've made. You have all of the stats, all of the stuff. So that's one way to do it. Another is that you completely improvise from the character's point of view. Maybe they start in a tavern or an inn in a small town, and then it's their adventure of becoming adventurers, right? Their kind of story from there, and then they learn more about the world as the world grows organically. There's a lot of ways to do it. I often do my own like session prep where I come up with a rough outline of what the like maybe country or continent looks like. And then rough ideas of maybe political things or, you know, whatever might be happening in the world. And then I put us in the world somewhere very fixed, and we go from there. So this let me do, like, we had an established world. I always do whatever D&D is currently at, so there's a lot more races and sub-races now and a lot of different classes and subclasses. So I just let everything be accessible, and we can just make it up as we go. That's what I tend to do.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's insane sometimes.
Yeah. And from a player experience, it was pretty fun, like having some of that fleshed out beforehand, so that as we're going, like you're as the DM, you were doing some nice foreshadowing of like these things that we knew were going to happen in this world. Like, for example, dragon poop being magical.
Poop is magical.
Which we created in our session 0. We decided that's the source of magic in this world.
Yeah,
or at least a key part of the magical ecology.
Yeah.
But our characters didn't know that,
right?
So we had to but it was fun to like play that up. Oh, it's a pile of rocks, but they're kind of squishy. Yeah. Why is there a green glow to this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, like tying in, like especially from In This World, because I've not done that before, where we do In This World first and then play D&D.
Yeah.
That's a fun combination.
Yeah, do you think you would use that in the future for
Session zeros and stuff
Yeah.
like that? I think I might. A lot of people though don't want to like know what's going to happen. They want to be completely caught surprised and like learn. But like,
sure, but like for the characters,
right?
I mean,
which
because
you
that's
could
sort of
easily do.
backstory stuff, right?
Yeah, and and yet again though, like we are very much in a collaborative environment here for the podcast, and so we want to build the funnest experience and like figure out things that are fun to do together. Where some people are like, this is my character, I want to have ownership, and like, no one tell me what to do with my character because it's my character.
Sure.
So like, you have a lot of different player personalities with games like this.
Sure.
Yeah. So like most people I play with, I would probably have that person like, hey, we're gonna make my character, but I want them to be like this. Can you help me make my character? Mm-hmm. And I think they would prefer that.
And I think like D&D, I've played with another group, and maybe I did come in a little late, so they like started me off, and maybe there was some character building in the beginning, but that group didn't focus so much on like the story
role-playing
aspects, the role playing as much. So it felt more like, oh, I'm putting in these numbers and that sort of represents me. But then like I saw how story little pieces emerge no matter what. When you're just doing an RPG, it's like, oh, we know that this dwarf is obsessed with loot just because of, but that's almost like more player personality, maybe.
Well, and like the dwarf rogue, like it makes sense that he's going to be really, really into gems and jewelry and things like that, metals, because he's a dwarf and he's a rogue. He wants to get loot and wealth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
and
like
D&D sets up those tropes
very
like, in this.
Yeah.
The classes are really archetypes for a character type, and then the subclasses allow you to have a lot of customization within that archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can also do multi-classing. So you could be a rogue and a fighter if you wanted to, and be both, and then get subclasses for both of those things. But normally with any kind of RPG, that means you're not going to get the more powerful abilities later on. So if you do get to being level 15 or 20, somewhere in that range, you won't have those really advanced things. But I like doing multi-classing personally because I love making really interesting, intricate characters that have a lot going on.
Yeah, one of the interesting things to me about D&D is the sheer depth of the class system.
Sure.
That really gives players a lot to explore. Mm-hmm. And just thinking of in video games,
sure,
that have similar class systems and class skill trees to explore. That is a fun part of those games, right? Mm-hmm. Unlocking new abilities, exploring the abilities of the character, looking at new characters. And the thing I think in D&D that makes it even more fun than progression in video games is that all of the abilities are so open-ended because the mechanics allow for you to just say, okay, you can do this thing. It's just a natural language description of what it is that you can do.
Thieves can't kind of thing.
Right. Whereas in computer games, it has to be very rigidly defined.
Programmed, yeah.
And then you have these books full of these abilities that you can explore.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe going along with that, one thing that is a little frustrating to me is that RPGs take a long time to play.
They take a long time.
Yeah.
And so it takes a long time to get to that progression. Mm-hmm. And as a player, I want to gain the new abilities and try them out. Like in this game, I had a bunch of interesting abilities. I got to try out a few of them.
Yep.
Sneak attack, especially.
Yep.
I got to use quite a bit.
Expertise. I don't think you got to use expertise, did you? No sleight of hand. You didn't try to pickpocket anyone.
Yeah, those didn't really come up.
Yep.
But
yeah, no, I have that feeling from the first time I played was I was a sorcerer. Versus a wizard. The other guy was the wizard.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, he has access to any spell he wants.
Well, in his spell book. But
in the spell book. Yeah. And I was the sorcerer at... they put me in at like level 3 maybe, but it was still felt like, oh man, I'm using these same few over and over.
Yeah.
I want to level up so I can do all that. But yeah, I mean...
It takes so long to level up.
That is...
Yeah.
But maybe it's something like... It is the feeling like in Gloomhaven where every game you might get one new thing and then you really focus on like, oh, cool, I got that one new thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I think during I guess this was a while ago after the airing of this episode, but in our group interview from the Discord, I mentioned one of my favorite games right now being Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, and it is an RPG board game, and it really emphasizes the more expedited leveling up system. And so, like, you actually gain experience and can spend it very quickly, and you can improve your character multiple times over a single session. And so it kind of combines those two things together really nicely in just a 3-game arc. And I do think having shorter form RPGs is a good idea so that you can have more ramped up experience and getting better faster.
But I mean, it's difficult. I understand why. Like, it's difficult because of the way the game mechanics work.
Yep.
The amount of time that passes in the game is not that much,
right,
even though relative to the amount of time that passes in real life.
Yeah.
And so having really fast progression feels weird because you would expect the characters to gain... Well, actually, hang on. Now that I think about it, in video games, when your characters level up, if you think about how long it takes in game time, it's really not that long.
Right, but you're by yourself. You don't have to get people together. You're not talking the entire time. You're, engaging with the mechanics of a video game.
Yeah, but I mean, within the fiction, players in video games progress very fast.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, that doesn't feel weird.
Right. That's true.
But, like, if I imagine a game like, say, Linley's Dungeon Crawl, a classic roguelike, you're going down in the dungeon level to level. Not that much time is passing, but you are leveling up and gaining new abilities very quickly.
Well, and so for D&D, there is kind of a rough guideline of what they suggest for the level up kind of pattern to be based on the number of sessions. And, for the first 3 or 4 levels, they say to level up every session so that you can really start running with your character as soon as possible and get into those unique, more interesting abilities, a unique subclass. And then level 4 is when everyone gets either an ability score improvement or a feat.
Yeah.
And so that means that you can start to, like, actually level up a very significant part of your character in some way.
Yeah. But it makes me wonder, the leveling up is determined by experience points, right?
Oh, that's a loose rule.
Oh, okay. So
I do landmark typically when we get to specific points in the story.
Level up. Okay.
Then I have us level up because, like, I don't want to do the bookkeeping of every monster. You divide this by 3 or 4.
Sure.
You had help on this one, so yada yada yada.
That seems more sensible to me.
Right, and a lot of people do love the kill for experience and get the loot, and that's how the game works because it's a game, and that's how a lot of RPGs do work. But completing quests is a lot more prevalent now, and that's what gives you experience in a lot of video games.
Yeah,
and so I am much more session and quest driven than I am.
Right.
Let's kill all the monsters. Well, if you are able to convince them to run away, you should also still get a reward for that.
Yeah.
Right? You should not.
Well, and related to that, I liked how you did the inspiration. Because, you have to do something kind of notable and fun, and then you get inspiration.
And I will say inspiration is probably the bane of most D&D parties' experience.
Why?
Because they forget about it.
Oh.
And it's always forgotten. And so, I wanted to make a point that we did use it so we could see the actual system and the full system as much as possible.
I really liked the inspiration mechanic. And
Ananda got it for smashing some vases as
because he said he would.
I said I would, so I did it. Yes. And I thought, I mean, it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
And I think I would have done it anyway, but I can see how it can incentivize people to sort of lean more into the playing a character.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my takeaway. I think my takeaway there is you don't need that much to encourage people to role play if they aren't inclined. Maybe they're inclined to role play anyway.
Yeah.
But just the smallest bonus, I think, is enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my takeaway is how one of the coolest moments was when I realized how when we split up as a party, so Ananda the dwarf was going off and sneaking around while Trevor and I were going straight in the front door and trying to convince the
guards that were cool
to let us in.
Yeah.
And then I really liked what you did as a DM to cut back and forth.
Yeah.
It felt just like a movie or a TV show where there's like the B plot going on. And that was just a cool experience that I hadn't had in a game before.
And, you know, I will say that was definitely inspired from watching, you know, actual plays and things like that, where, you know, they were doing stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's a great way to do it, because I've ran games in college where I think I had a 10-person D&D party.
Whoa.
And that's a lot of people to have, and then they wanted to split up. And I'm like, well, we're going to resolve this whole storyline first and then do that whole storyline. And like, people would just sit around and listen to the story for the entire game session and never actually play.
Oh.
Like, that's terrible. That's not a fun way to play D&D.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like finding those problems earlier in my life, and then seeing how people have solved for those problems is really a fun thing to do. But yeah. I like doing more of like a movie.
Yeah.
And focusing on different things. A lot of people do the what is it? I don't remember the actual narrative type, but where we look at what the villain is doing right now without any player characters present. And so to see that character on their own and getting like that sense of the rest of the story that you're not actually part of. So you actually get that full like movie experience as you're
I
playing.
like that idea. That's cool.
Yeah, it can be a fun narrative device for sure.
I was wondering if there's a way to do that kind of like cutting between feeling in a not so much narrative but cooperative game, where like, because it happens, if one person takes a turn, then the other person takes a turn, or like the group splits up. But yeah, it would be fun to do more of that, like feeling.
Oh, sure.
Cinematic feel in
a
non-storytelling game. I don't know.
I think it's definitely possible. And maybe it would lean towards more asymmetry or something, but yeah, I think that's definitely possible in a board game or another tabletop kind of game. For my takeaway, I just want to talk about D20s, and they just swing too much for me. They are so exciting though when you get a critical hit or when you get a critical failure. There is something very exciting about that, and I definitely don't want to knock that. But so at level 4, I mentioned you get a +2 to an attribute score of your choice, which gives you a +1 to your modifier, which is a 5% increase in success rate. And you don't really feel a 5% increase in success rate. You need the other abilities that you get from leveling up to actually make that feel worthwhile. But if it's just the ability score improvement, like it always lands flat for me. Like the die could have just been one number different, and that already offsets the entire bonus you received. And so like you can have like, you know, you are a weak character, or you're a medium character for your strength, right? A 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, Ananda's 14, which gives him a +2. You have a +0. But really, like, almost 9 times out of 10, you're on par with each other, right? Like, it's not really that much of a difference, even though he has 4 more points of strength, which is significant in D&D terms. So it doesn't actually feel that significant in terms of mechanics. And so that's my only gripe about D20s. And it's not really about D&D, I guess. It's just the D20 system.
Sure.
Which is what D&D created with 3rd edition. So,
well, that leads to a question for you as the DM. Like, what do you do when people just roll incredibly every time versus like a game, if we rolled not hits almost every time, like
right.
What do? You just let the party
what do you do?
die?
What do you do? So
or you just have to be flexible.
That's something where you have to be flexible, right? So like, and maybe the you know, luck was on our side. We were able to fight everything. Everything was easy.
Nat 20s.
Nat 20s, and you know, my guys were not doing super great, although I did get a couple good hits in. But yeah, I've had it before where I'm always whenever I'm the DM, I roll really well. Rarely when I'm the player do I roll as well, and I don't know what it is about that. But almost, and I notice my critical hits against players more than I notice as a player critiquing against an enemy, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to kill you guys. And you know, they do have rules around like critical hits from enemies don't work against heroes. There's no critical hits against heroes. You know, I get that from a narrative perspective as well. But I like having those more intense moments of like, oh my god, I almost died. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have that threat, then is it really as enjoyable? If you hadn't gotten down to, you know, what was it, 4 hit points or whatever, like, would we have had as much fun? Like, you have that threat, and it's like, oh my, I need to heal. I need to do something. We've created a problem, and now I need to solve it. And now it's a new thing that needs to happen, which I love that. But yeah, just the D20 in general is so swingy, and it can like really bring down a game. If you can't roll above a 10, even though you get like +4, it's +5, +6, it doesn't really matter. And it's just like, oh, that's so brutal.
It'd be nice if it was a pink noise randomness, maybe. Like, we've maybe talked about that before, but right now it's white noise. D20 is 1 through 20. You're going to roll somewhere
maybe
in there.
redefine
But
white and...
Yeah, so white noise being just 100% random.
Oh, sure.
Pink noise being... Well, brown noise being like an incremental change more. Like, oh, I know I'm going to step forward or backward, but after I step forward, then I'm going to either step forward 1 or backward 1.
Oh, I see.
So I'm making progress in a direction.
Incremental improvements, I got you.
Incremental. Pink noise is more like it's still a little more random than brown noise. It's somewhere in between. So like I'm more likely to make a small jump, but I might make a big jump.
Sure.
And then so I'm thinking about a system like cartographers, how they go towards the end of the game. You're like drawing a number on the card, and when you hit 8 or something like that, then it ends the round. And you're drawing numbers like 0 through 2 or 3 or something. And so every card you draw is adding to that total to push you towards the end, but it's still random within that, so you don't know when the round is going to end.
Oh, sure.
So, like, just relating it back to D&D, it's like maybe you're making a lot of bad throws, but could you develop a system where every bad throw still makes you progress towards...
Right. Kind of like we were talking about just between us the other day about passing. When you pass in a game, it gives you something still. And so maybe that kind of thing could give you like a type of advantage of some kind, or, you know, if you're ready in action, that gives you a little bit of a boon to like do a little bit better. And, you know, they have abilities like Bless or actually didn't use it. The leader of the bandit, or the bandits, the guards, could have inspired his allies to get bonuses to attack. But I forgot about that rule because I was also being a player. But yeah, so he could grant a +1d4 to his soldiers' attacks. And then they would have a better chance of hitting you guys because they'd roll a d20 and a d4. And so, yeah, that's a fun way to augment that a little bit. And honestly, you know, advantage is probably the main offset of the d20. Because they didn't used to have advantage. It used to just be d20s plus an obscene number. So you start off, you know, with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it gets up to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then it goes all the way up to like 30 plus 30 to your D20. It's like, oh my God. And that's when you're like, you know, epic level stuff is going on. And that's where I think almost the D20 does make more sense because you're now in like a different echelon of hero.
Yeah,
right?
and the increment actually
Means
is nice,
something.
maybe,
Yeah.
versus like a D6.
Yeah, so for 5e, they wanted to make the math a lot simpler so it was a lot more accessible to people, which absolutely, like, make it more accessible. But then it also ties everything else down to this more narrow rule set. And so, yeah, it's just it's a little funky. But, yeah, that's why I created Manifest originally, just because I didn't like D20s. I thought they were too swingy.
Oh, here's another question.
Yeah.
How does a campaign end? Like, I know people...
That's a great question. I'll tell you when I end one. When everyone moves away and they can no longer play together. No. I know. Yeah, I've never officially ended a campaign. It happens all the time. People actually do it. But because I continuously create the world as we're playing, typically for my games, I don't have an end point in sight. Sometimes we'll finish like a big adventure or a big thing, and maybe that could be considered the end of the campaign. But I normally have what's next.
Yeah.
And there's always a what's next. Like, what bigger threat are we facing? What other thing is going to happen?
Do you ever have like a Sauron type villain that's just like always going to be there in the background until the ultimate
I in my campaign right now I'm running, I do have that. Yeah. And it's more, it's the classic story of an evil god trying to take over the world. And they're trying to actually come onto the material plane and rule this plane. Classic tale. But yeah, so they're trying to stop that from happening. But if it does happen, then they have to stop him. And how do you stop a god? And then there's a whole other problem.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited for the next.
I'm excited to not have to worry about preparing anything anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe Ananda, you could just give us a quick preview of what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just, of course, played through sort of, I guess, it was a pretty well self-contained Dungeons & Dragons one-shot, I felt.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the character sheets that we have and, the stuff that's been established, and I am going to be reworking it into the equivalent material for Dungeon World, which is the next RPG that we're going to be playing. But we are going to be continuing the same adventure, same characters, same setting, probably not that long after our last adventure ended.
Yeah.
But we are going to be continuing it using the Dungeon World system.
Which uses powered by the Apocalypse.
Yes, which uses powered by the Apocalypse.
So D&D uses the D20 system, which is kind of like a quote-unquote...
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a very imaginative system. And then Powered by the Apocalypse is one that they've done... There's a lot of different games for that system that are all very interesting, have a lot of kind of cool world stuff about them. So I'm excited to play that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to run it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this is all about. Cool. Well... tune in next time for our bonus content of hearing the story continue, and then followed by our regularly scheduled Tabletop Takeaway episode.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Tabletop Takeaway. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. So please tell your friends and visit our website at thetabletoptakeaway.com, where you can suggest games and mechanics for us to cover next on the show.